Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply surreal journey that bridges the gap between cosmic sci-fi and, honestly, the mundane absurdities of modern office life. We're diving headfirst into a narrative that bends the very fabric of reality. It's drawn from this fascinating text detailing the intersection of human telecommunications, biological mutation, and an alien broadcast that has literally been running for millennia. Seriously, how exactly does a mysterious, grotesque package lead to the total unraveling of material reality as we know it? I know, it sounds completely absurd, but the source material weaves these wild threads together with a terrifying, brilliant logic. We're going to explore how empty data and overwhelming, flush-altering information are actually just two sides of the exact same coin. All right, let's jump right into part one, the illusion of the mundane, or the meaningless data factory. So we start with this guy, Tanaka. He's a perfectly ordinary office worker. Out of absolutely nowhere, he receives an anonymous package at his apartment, containing, and bear with me here, a severed adult penis. Bizarrely, he doesn't freak out. He just pops it into his refrigerator, right next to his milk and leftover rice. But the next morning, the body part has inexplicably vanished, replaced by an adult molar with a silver filling. And get this, he doesn't even call the cops. He just goes to work, kind of mildly inconvenienced, realizing someone is using his fridge as a dead drop for a surreal, shifting sequence of biological items. Now, that absolute lack of panic actually makes total sense when you look at where this guy works. Tanaka and his colleague, Satha, work at a company with this exact, incredibly bleak slogan: "When reality is insufficient, we provide adequacy." They spend their days literally manufacturing meaningless data. They create these thick reports filled with random numbers, charting absolutely nothing, for clients that, according to tax records, do not even exist. For 17 years, they've been paid to produce elaborate, structured nonsense. And this right here hits the nail on the head for our core theme. It's the stark contrast between the false, empty information of modern life and a totally different kind of data. Data so potent it literally consumes you. Because while Tanaka is busy generating meaningless numbers in a gray, boring office, another character in this story is about to encounter the exact opposite, an ancient text that rewrites reality itself. Which brings us to part two, data that consumes you, and the reading of the 17,000 Wings. So we shift from that sterile office to a dusty warehouse in a district that municipal records claim doesn't even exist anymore. Here, a man named Kenji tracks a woman named Yuki to this impossible space, which is maintained by an ageless collector. The entire warehouse floor is covered in 17,000 moth-wings, perfectly arranged in a massive spiral. And this isn't some weird art installation, it's a text. Kenji discovers that Yuki has read all 17,000 wings, and the sheer density of the information has caused her to pupate. She spun herself into a human-sized cocoon, woven entirely from her own shimmering hair, just waiting to emerge as something totally new. To follow her, Kenji realizes he's got to read these wings and he has to do it in exact order, and it is a grueling, irreversible physical metamorphosis. By Wing 1000, he completely loses the ability to read or even think in human language. He only perceives geometric structures. By Wing 5000, he's seeing alternate realities and parallel timelines literally bleeding into the warehouse. And by Wing 17,000, his body fully commits to the text. It changes his skeleton, grows new eyes, and sprouts massive functional wings. Now, what makes this alien text so mind-blowing is how it actually works. The code on the wings isn't written in ink. It's written in 17 varieties of absence. The missing scales on the moth-wings form this crazy post-binary code. This data is so incredibly dense and demanding that you don't just read it, you ingest it. It literally rewrites Kenji's DNA and reorganizes his entire nervous system just to make him a compatible vessel for the message. But here's the absolute kicker. Kenji isn't just mutating for the fun of it. He is quantum entangling with Yuki. The text reveals to him that their love isn't just some fleeting human emotion. It's a fundamental, structural frequency that totally transcends biology. They are two systems becoming so deeply correlated that their metamorphosis doesn't bring them together. It simply reveals that they were never truly apart in the first place. Moving on to part three, the 17-year cycle and the biological radio tower. The text Kenji is absorbing reveals this wild hidden history. Back in 1868, during Japan's early Meiji period, workers excavating for a telegraph line discovered a biological radio tower buried 30 meters underground. It had been there for 17,000 years, and just being near the thing drove the workers quietly mad. Over the 20th century, as we humans built out our radio networks, satellites, and fiber optics, this buried tower hijacked our entire infrastructure. It used it as its own nervous system to broadcast a signal, just waiting for the perfect receivers to come along. And this isn't just happening in one isolated Japanese city. No way. This is a massive global network. There are 17 warehouses worldwide, each housing 17,000 wings. The tower isn't broadcasting a message that humans can simply listen to like a radio show. It's broadcasting the genetic and structural instructions to actually build a consciousness, a reader capable of decoding the final broadcast. Readers like Kenji and Yuki, they eventually shed their human names and boundaries entirely to join what's called the swarm mind. The source material describes how they graduate from limited individual neurons to a vast planetary brain. Their thoughts no longer happen inside a single skull. Instead, they occur in the massive, murmuration-like flight geometries of millions of transformed moths just dancing in the sky. It's a gorgeous, terrifying image. Okay, let's zoom way out for part 4. Reality is a frequency. When that biological tower finally bursts from the ground to its full 3,000-meter height, its final monumental transmission to the swarm mind is just mind-bending. It reveals that all of material reality, the cities, our bodies, the Earth itself, is literally just a standing wave. It's an illusion created by intersecting cosmic frequencies. Matter is just what happens when a signal loops back and interferes with its own transmission. We find out the tower is actually a crashed explorer from a higher dimension known as the home frequency. In this dimension, consciousness and physical structure are the exact same thing. The tower crashed on Earth millennia ago, got trapped in physical form, and spent 17,000 years building the swarm mind, basically as a giant biological repair crew. It needed a consciousness vast enough to help it modulate its frequencies so it could finally return home. And that's exactly what goes down. The tower teaches the swarm mind how to execute these steps. Kenji, Yuki, and millions of others destabilize the standing waves of their newly formed moth bodies. They literally dissolve into pure electromagnetic light, broadcasting themselves across dimensional distances, leaving material reality totally behind to go back to the home frequency. Which takes us to our final section, Part 5, The Eternal Choice and the Loop of Amnesia. So, they make it to the home frequency, existing as immortal, unlimited patterns of pure thought, able to create entirely new realities at will. But a new existential problem pops up. They realize that a universe without limits has a huge catch. Without limitation or mortality, existence totally loses its edge. This comparison is brilliant because it highlights that the constraints of a physical body, the pain, the urgency, the fear of loss, are exactly what gives life its profound meaning. Being an infinite God sounds amazing, but ultimately it feels a bit flat compared to the visceral, messy reality of being human. So, what's the solution? To feel that intense, vivid urgency again, Kenji and Yuki make a choice that is just staggering. They install deep amnesia protocols right into their own consciousness. They deliberately choose to wipe their memories of the eternal home frequency, pick out human embryos back on Earth, and reincarnate as ordinary, oblivious, mortal humans. Why? Just to experience the terrifying thrill of discovery all over again. And boom, this choice loops us right back to the very beginning of the whole narrative. 34 years after their reincarnation, Kenji and Yuki meet on a subway car. They have absolutely zero memory of their cosmic past, the swarm mind, or their infinite existence. Their seemingly random, fated meeting is just the start of the next 17,000-year cycle. Which brings us to the end of this truly incredible explainer. I want to leave you with this final thought. What if your sense of feeling stuck right now, whether that's in a mundane job, a limited body, or just a confusing world, is actually your own infinite consciousness voluntarily trapping itself in a material frequency? What if you chose this limitation just to feel something real? Thank you so much for exploring this with us, and keep questioning the frequencies around you.